JJ, we look back and it was October that we last spoke, and what a different world we're in.
The whole world has changed, and Donald Trump became president, and it has not even been a month, man. It's not even been a month. And he has changed not only America, he's changed the world. And you can sense it, you can feel it. And I felt it. I don't know how you, I would really like to get your take on this. We had a huge party at my house at about 10 families, all MAGA Trump people, and for his inauguration. And we listened to his speech, and we were all like, whoa, that's a different man. That's a different man standing in front of us right now. He is resolute. I think if I had to choose a word, Michael, it would be resolute. He seems absolutely determined, resolute on what he needs to accomplish and how he's going to do it. And I love it. I love everything he's doing. Everything he's doing.
Yeah, and I'm not. It's not that I don't. There's a lot of things he's doing that I like a lot. But I'll tell you, and where my concern is right now, and I'm not saying this is his. This is not on him, but I had a conversation last week with Matt Smith, and we were talking about. He was referencing the run on gold. Right, and where he thinks this is all going with, moving out of the old financial system and moving into a new financial structure. And it could possibly take place in the next 2 years, if not 4, during Trump's administration. It's a fascinating conversation. I won't bore you with all the details right now because my audience has been listening to it. And it's funny because Matt wrote up a summary of it on X, and it's gotten, last time I checked, almost 5 million views.
Wow.
And it's, JJ, it was something that it's getting out there more now. I'm hearing more about it, but it's called the Mar-a-Lago Accord. And we're at that pivotal moment, similar to when we came off the dollar in 1971. And the people that Trump has, put into his cabinet in regards to Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, which I called him Frank Lutnick in my conversation with Matt. So I'm kind of smirking. Because people were emailing, like, how did you know? How did you not know it was Howard? Isn't it funny how people remember all the stupid little... And you know what? I don't edit it out because this is not a theater.
Right.
So,
it's two dudes talking
right.
and discussing, and there's going to be mistakes, and you roll with it.
Right. But, it's just making me think like, okay, where are we right now? And, these tech people that were against him came behind, now we're in full support into this election. Why? Why are they all on board? They spent hundreds of millions of dollars to get rid of him in 2020. And yet, I watched that interview with Elon and Trump last night on Hannity. And it's like they're college roommates, for God's sake.
No.
Right? And this is, people are going to email me, whatever. You're never going to be happy. You're always, and I'm not, I hate the word doom or black pill because that's not what I am. But I'm trying to look at all this objectively. And
yeah, you're a realist.
Well, I just don't believe that these tech people had an epiphany, saw God, or like that moment in Pulp Fiction, a moment of clarity when the guy was shooting the gun off and the bullets didn't go through. I don't believe that with these people. So what is their incentive to do it? Well, I think because of this new financial system, whatever it becomes, whatever this is, whether it be, doing away with the Federal Reserve, replacing it with, some type of gold standard or Bitcoin, crypto, XRP being maybe the new Federal Reserve or Tether, there's an incentive for them to be a part of this. And I mean, I got an email today from a listener and I'm going to paraphrase it because it's long, but the money reset is what this is all about. It's the crown jewel. The debt-based system has run its course. Whoever controls the money supply controls the world. Gold is money. Everything else is credit. JP Morgan. People have known this for years. And again, I'm paraphrasing this, but the country or world isn't coming back with the likes of the current controllers. If one can't figure out who they are by now, it's probably too late. These people have destroyed the U.S. and created unnecessary turmoil all over the world. They want global control. We broke away briefly from them in the Revolutionary War, They failed twice to get back in charge and finally did in 1913. Call them whatever you like. A cartel, those who print the money, those who you cannot speak badly about, the money changers. And then he was talking about the Doge. It's don't be fooled by Doge. It's to create extreme division. It's bringing up what has been going on, for years and a hell of a lot longer. I think he said his whole life. But I think it's being done to keep the left-right pendulum swinging as violently as it ever has. And then talking about the government, he's seen a lot of cuts. All this should have happened. It's time to enter the real world. But then he was referencing my friend Jim Kunstler's book, The Long Emergency and Living in the Long Emergency, and how, to read that book. And then, yeah. So I don't know. It's just one person's take. And
no, I as you're reading those kind of like bullet points, I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But the one thing I don't agree with is we want change. We want accountability. So now we're getting it, and now we're questioning the motives of the people that are doing what we want them to do. And this, Michael, I think is the greatest crime against Americans is the left and the rhinos created a world that we live in where we trust no one and trust nothing that is told to us. We always see someone lurking in the dark because someone has been lurking in the dark our whole generation, our whole life. I look back on things that I have been told. I have been propagandized my whole life. My whole life. I'll tell you one part that I've been doing deep dive in. I don't have to pay federal income tax. I don't have to. We think that on the Mayflower, they came out and said, okay, everybody line up to pay your federal income tax. We didn't have federal income tax in 1913. We've been propagandized for about 3 or 4 generations that this is what we've always done. No, it's not. Our federal government has been stealing from us. And here's something else I would like to ask you, and this falls in line with what your viewer emailed you about. I believe we are in an age of awakening, meaning we are now going to be privy to all the things behind the curtain, all of them. And we've only seen a little bit, and it has shaken our foundation. Wait till we see everything that they have been doing to us. We are going to want heads on pikes when it's all said and done. That's the truth. I believe once this age of awakening ends, then there will become the age of reckoning, meaning what are you going to do now? You're looking at people that stole your wealth, made you poorer, made your life more difficult, lied to you about everything, property rights, everything. What are you going to do? You going to allow them just to walk into the sunset, or are you going to punish them? And if the government does not punish them, I believe there will be some kind of violence. And I don't know what level, but there will be violence because people will not stand by and know these people stole all my money. They ruined my country, and somebody has to pay. I believe that's happening. Do you think I'm off on that?
So let me add to that. There was one part that I didn't include in that, and this was kind of the summary at the end. They're building a complete control grid right in front of us. Stole everything they needed from the critical thinking regular man. You'll have nothing and you'll be happy. And to add to that, this is what Matt Smith and I were talking about was, because my question is, why is this all coming out now? I mean, generally speaking, we've known about corruption. We've known about fraud. Yeah, I didn't know how deep it was, but we've known. The Federal Reserve, they're talking about auditing it now. How long has that been circulating around where Ron Paul has called for it, that they've just intentionally just push off?
Yep.
So, Matt was saying, they're doing this now. I mean, again, this is just theory, not like he was saying it for sure. But, are they doing this now because they want to expose to the masses to say, look at how rotted all this is. It's not working. We have to do something different to usher in a new financial system, to also show people that, the dollar era, the debt era is over. And, again, I'm taking that, and I'm taking this from, this email from a listener. And I'm like, God, it just makes a lot of sense because at the end of the day, when you have technology continuing to advance, I don't know how you stop this unless there's no electricity, they're going to just
Right.
continue to tighten. The whole digital ID, we've already been,
We're already in a digital ID right
already
now.
in a digital ID. I mean, we got phones. You do everything on the phone, right? You pay
Well,
your
let me ask you this. When I'll put $100 in my pocket, 5 years ago, that $100 will be gone. Like that $100 will stay in my pocket all month long. I won't even use it because everything is tap my card. I just have cash there for an absolute emergency, like I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere and some Yahoo needs cash. That's it. So we're already there.
when you
I
check
think
onto your
we're,
flight, when you get on an airplane, your boarding pass is on your phone.
yeah, everything. I think we're there. I think what Donald, I could be wrong, but I'm just looking at this as you do, as I'm constantly thinking about it. I think Kash Patel is going to be the director of FBI today or tomorrow, and that will be the final piece of this puzzle. And then Donald Trump will have everybody in place. And when they go and they start enumerating, which he did today, enumerating the fraud, he's going to then go in and find out who has stolen all the money. And there's going to be mass arrest. I really believe, and I think that's when the chaos is going to explode in America because the media and the left are going to say, look at him. I told you he's going to arrest his political enemies. No, he's arresting traitors that committed treason against our country. And that, to me, I wrote a book about this. It came out today called Treason. That's why you're having me on too.
No. I like talking to you anyway, JJ.
No, I know. But I do have a new book came out called Treason. And one of the things that I don't want to say demand because like I have any power, but as a citizen, just as one man, I demand accountability and justice. I came from a world where I did 24 years in the United States Border Patrol as a federal agent. I lived in a world of justice. However, I knew that that was a lie and a facade. We don't have justice in America. We haven't had it for decades, maybe over 100 years, maybe longer. I want justice. Look at what we're talking about, Michael. We're not talking about a couple million, which is horrible enough. We're not even talking about a couple billion, which is egregious, grotesque. We're talking about theft in the trillions of dollars. They've already found 8 to 10% of our total deficit was in fraud, waste, and abuse.
JJ, give it closer to your microphone so I can hear you through that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Okay. So we're already discovered 10% of our total deficit. Here's my belief. I don't believe we have a deficit. I don't think we have one. I think we have people that stole all our money and keep saying, oh, we're in a deficit. Oh, we're in a deficit. No, you stole over 36 to 40 trillion dollars of our wealth. Who's going to pay for this? Who's going to be held accountable? And Donald Trump he's been put in a box where he has only one way out, and he's putting himself in the same situation where he has only one avenue of recourse, and that's arrest. Because if he doesn't, he looks weak and impotent.
Yes, but I think my thought is you saying that is, moving into this new system, whatever this may be, a gold standard, maybe we go back on a gold standard, maybe, and again, I don't know exactly how it will all shake out, but the economic pain that's coming, that might be enough of a distraction, that the pain that Americans are going to feel, that their minds are going to be more worried about that than it will be about justice. But I don't disagree with you on all that.
What do you think? But what do you think is left for Trump? Let's say let's you and I fast forward 90 days. We haven't hit 30 days, so you can imagine how in 90 more days what we're going to discover. Let's say in 90 days, he has all his political people in positions of authority and power. He's ready to go, and we've discovered through Doge that We have lost $20 trillion. Stolen, theft. And then they can tell you, yep, that guy there stole. Joe Biden has $25 million in offshore account. AOC is now worth $26 million when she came in with $3,000 in assets. And he's able to say, this is where the money, because the money leaves a trail. You don't get $26 million in your bank account because someone wheelbarrowed loads of cash to you. There was wire transfers. There was all kind of bribes. What happens to America when we realize that everything about our federal government is a lie? What happens?
Let's take it a step further. So to add to that, what happens when people realize that the money they have in the bank, the pensions, the retirement funds, that JJ, it's not real. It's not real.
No, it's not real. No, it's not. My whole income, but outside of podcasts and writing books, etc., my main income is my pension and my 401k through the federal government that I poured money into. And I think about that quite a bit. It's just a number on a computer screen. There's nothing tied to it. Nothing. They're printing money out of thin air. I know you've seen this 60-minute interview with Powell where they're asking, well, how do you do this? And he literally says the quiet part out loud. Well, we do print money. We just print it, or I just type in some numbers in a computer and then I transfer that number. And that's, okay, that's tied to nothing. This plastic bottle has more worth than the dollar. The dollar's worthless. And then we go into the gold standard, and now we hear Elon Musk is going into Fort Knox to do an inventory on the gold. What happens if he goes there and he discovers 50, 75% is not there? What's going to happen to our country? And those are not insane things to think about. Because if you think it can't happen, look at what we're discovering, the insanity we're living in right now. Holy God.
Doesn't it though, when you the things that you just said, doesn't it make you think that, again, coming back to what I said, that is this all intentional to say, hey, look at it's completely beyond salvageable. We have to do something different, and this is the new system that we're going to be moving towards.
I think that
financial restructuring the system. Trump coming in like a bankrupt, a corporation gone bankrupt, and reorganizing, and that's where this is going.
I think the situation, if it continues to get worse, yes, I see that as a distinct possibility. Absolutely. Because here's what you're going to have. You're going to have millions of Americans irate. And then the people in positions of power are going to say, your money's gone. Your pensions are gone unless we do this. And everyone's going to say, do that. I think that is incredibly insightful for you to say that. I haven't thought of it in that terms, and I need to think more of that.
I got to send you this conversation, JJ, because it really is. It's a different kind of theory that, again, it's circulating more now. But as of last week, I just wasn't hearing many people talk about it. I mean, he was saying, even referencing that we would follow. They're looking at China's model of a two-tiered financial structure, both a localized and then foreign investment currency. And that the United States would move in that type of direction. So the whole, and then then it was also referencing Howard Lutnick's conversation last year about the sovereign wealth fund, where you would take this sovereign wealth fund and you put assets into it, and we would start monetizing our assets. And he was referencing TikTok, Anwar, which I had Chris Martinson on yesterday, and he was saying Anwar would be difficult because of being in the Arctic. You're not going to be able to drill. It's not like a year-round ability to be able to get oil out of that region. And it would take time to do that. But the gold, putting that in there, I forgot what some of the other assets they talked about putting in there. But, and then you would be able to, from there, take those assets, monetize them to, say, the oil to countries like Japan and South Korea. And I don't know. It's just interesting.
No, I find that fascinating because I come back to this question. Why are any Americans paying any tax on anything when we are the largest consumer? We are basically Costco. If you want to come into Costco, you have to pay a membership. When you want to come into America to buy or sell, you have to pay a membership. We used to do that. Do you know that we had so much money in America from our tariffs? We had no income tax, no anything, that we had to get a commission together to decide on how to spend our money. Look at how far we went from before the Federal Reserve. Prior to that, we had more money than we did. We had to have a commission to decide on what to spend our money on, to where we are today, where we're at 36 trillion minimum in debt. If you can't see that our government is the enemy, if you can't see that our government is evil, then you are either so stupid that you should run for Congress, or you're complicit. Or you're complicit, and you're enriching yourself. Michael, the same men and women that were in Congress the same time I was in the Border Patrol received the same amount of pay that I got, maybe a little bit more, not much. They're on the same retirement system I am, TSP, Thrift Savings Plan. They get the same amount, get put in their 401k. And yet when I retired, I had a nice nest egg, but I didn't have 15 million. I didn't have 20 million. I didn't have 100 million. How did people that went in with less assets than I did, that are way less intelligent than I am, and they didn't write a book, they didn't create an app, they didn't create anything that they could sell, are coming out of Congress worth tens of millions of dollars? How is it possible? The only explanation is they are enriching themselves on bribes. Even if you were able to, say, cobble together $20,000 a year to save, which everyone can't do, but let's say they can, and they had insider trading, that $20,000 a year for 20 years still can't equal $25 million. You would have to have like 1,000% increase every freaking year, which is impossible. But you can hit the 25 million mark if you're getting bribes and you're getting kickbacks and payback. And that's what's happening in our government. Where is, in the Treasury, $4.7 trillion? Where did it go? You can't say the money just disappeared. No, it had to go to someone's bank account. Whose bank account did it go to? And that's what I want DOGE to make, that connection between the illegal theft, but where did it go? And I want everything else. I want the Epstein, I want that released. I want the 9/11 moon landing. I want JFK, RF. I want it all released, because when it's all released, America's going to realize, guess what? You're not the shiny city on the hill. You're the problem. America is the problem. You have a beautiful flag behind you. I used to have one on mine when I used to do my old podcast. I am the biggest patriot. America first, America last, always America. But if I'm honest, and that's one thing I am, if you look at the totality of what's going on in the world, past and present, who's the common denominator in all the wars, in all the conflicts, of all the economic turmoil, of all the child pornography, all the hard narcotics? Who's in the middle of that? What's the common denominator? The United States of America. We have destroyed the globe. We've destroyed the Middle East. We went into Vietnam. 99% of Americans can't even find Vietnam on the map, even today. We sent at least 200, Trump now is saying it's close to $300 billion to Ukraine. And I would bet a month's salary, you pick some random dude on the street, they can't pick where Ukraine is. But we sent $300 billion. And Zelensky said out of $200 billion, he can't find over half of it. He has no idea. He never saw it. And yet today, you have Lindsey Graham and Senator Thune are promising another $50 billion to Ukraine. We live in the most corrupt government in the history of the world, I believe. And I challenge anyone to show me that I'm wrong.
So let me ask you, is it salvageable
It is
in the current
salvageable.
form?
No. And let me tell you how much. Let me give you an example of how much is wrong. Okay. One of the things that has to happen is the 17th Amendment has to be repealed immediately because that was a mimic of God's natural order. Our founding fathers put a federal government, a state government, and the people all combined, and they're the checks and balances. When they passed the 17th Amendment, they took the states and remove the states from the power structure because what was supposed to happen on senators were supposed to be the senior people picked from the state legislature and put in DC. And if they went rogue, the state legislature can recall them and put more different people up there. So you had states' rights. The federal government could not take the states' rights because you had your representatives voting on the ability of the federal government. So you had this firewall that stopped all the federal central power encroachment. But when you did the 17th Amendment and made it not from the state legislature, but it did popular vote, now those people that you sent to Washington have no loyalty or allegiance to the state. They become when you think of a senator, do you think of them as states? Do you think them have any responsibility or allegiance to states, or do you think that they're the? I don't. When you talk to me about senators, I have to go look, unless I know it's Lindsey Graham or Thune or something like that. I have to go look to see what state they're at, because they don't go to states' rights. So now, instead of having a three-pronged system of individuals, states, and Fed, you have the Feds now dominating two-thirds of of our government. And now you see why there's no states' rights. Now you see why the federal giant. So you ask me, we're not living in our republic our founders built. We're living in a alternative universe. So when you say, is this salvageable? I say no. I say no. Unless we're going to go back to the founding of our nation and go back to the way the Constitution was written and was supposed to be, yeah, I don't think it's sustainable. And I think that we are more divided than we've ever been in any way. We have people on TikTok now and Facebook, etc., now encouraging people to kill Donald Trump, hoping the cartels that he just named enemies of the state will come and kill Trump. We have a sick society. So when you say we have a problem, is this sustainable? I say no. No, it's not. Absolutely not. Culturally, socially, and government-wise, no. We're off center, and everyone feels it.
Well, and I also think any type of, shockwave, again, similar to 2020, anything, our society is so fragile and we are so divided and so on edge that any punch at all, I think the system's going to completely crumble.
I think that you could be right. I mean, you said, well, is it salvageable? I know, let me just say that I know that everything will crumble if nobody is held accountable. And I mean arrest, trial, go to prison, put on death squad, whatever it needs to be. But you had an election stolen in 2020. I can go to sixth grade right now and show them a graph of the presidential election. And all the numbers are the same, 62 to 58 million. And all of a sudden, boom, 81 million for a known racist that had been kicked out of the presidential race 3 other times for fraud, everything you could imagine. And he gets more votes. He gets more black votes than the first black president. He gets more votes than has ever been voted on, counted for a president. And then every other presidential election has the same amount of votes except that one in 2020, whereas 20 more million votes, 15 more million votes. Anybody, a third grader can say, hey, pick out what the problem is. Well, that's the problem. How did you have more people there? Are you telling me then I want to say, Kamala Harris, the left hates Trump more now than they did before in 2020. So you're telling me 15 million Democrats stayed home? That's what you're telling me? You're telling me 15 million Democrats that voted in 2020 did not go to vote to keep the Satanist Nazi out. We all know, my long way of saying this, we all know that we were frauded and we lived in misery for 4 years. If that doesn't, is that not resolved? If all the theft of our money, time, and talent and treasure is not resolved, then this is all for naught. This is all kabuki theater. You know it as well as I do. If you have children and you don't punish the children when they do bad things, well, they'll just do more bad things. If you don't punish criminals, then they will escalate. You think people murder people on that's their first crime they committed? A law enforcement guy. You think that's the first thing they've done? No, it's a process to get to a deprived level to do something like that. Our government is beyond that now, beyond it.
Well, look at even 2008. I mean, I can go off just history of experience that I've gone through. And 2008, nobody went to jail for any of that.
No one went to jail for. Yeah, no, nobody went. I lived that, and I'm passionate about this because I worked my ass off to get my first home and to move up the economic ladder, if you will, to have it all crumble because
your equity just evaporated.
I was on the street. Let me tell you where I was. I was in Southern California, and I was on a one-way street in Southern California. I could see the ocean. I worked my ass off to get that and took major gambles to get to that point, and I was happy. I had about 20 homes on this one-way street in Southern California. 15 homes went on foreclosure or short sale. I lost everything. I held on for dear life because my name is attached to it. My thought is my name is everything. I signed on this. I'm going to pay it. Never thinking that my government was going to conspire and destroy our economy, destroy it. And then all the banks were made whole on my money, and then they wouldn't lend the money to us back. And you're right. Who went to jail? No one went to jail.
Jamie Dimon's still in charge of JP Morgan. He was in charge then, and he's still in charge now.
And then, okay, well, that proves that's a great way of proving what I just said. When you have crime that goes unpunished, the criminals get more bold, they have more ingenuity, and then they just do it. We just lost $4.7 trillion. We have no idea. Can you imagine what the Treasury came up and said? We don't know where it is because we don't put in the byline where the money goes. What? You just wrote checks and you didn't even know who you wrote it to? You had no accounting? What would happen to a business if they did that? Those people would go to jail. But because it's a government, screw it. I've had it, man. I don't know how you feel, but I've hit my limit. I don't know if other Americans have hit it or if they have a reprieve because Trump's in now and they feel like everything's going to be okay, but everything's not going to be okay. It's not.
I 100% agree with you. I feel right now I'm not as vested, right? I didn't put, all the years you did in federal government building up a pension. So I don't have the type of, maybe, I don't want to interpret how you feel, but what you just shared with me, I don't have that type of anger, right? Because I would be infuriated by it. I mean, here's a question for you. Do you think that your pension's going to be there for you in 10 years?
No.
5 years?
No, I don't.
5 years?
No, maybe. I was just working out in the gym. I have a gym in my garage because I can't stand going to the gym. And I was thinking about this today, working out, thinking about money, thinking about how long things are going to last. What do I have to do to ensure my wife's taken care of, my son is, and you become angry. You're like, well, is any of this real? Did I just saved all that money and then I paid into federal income tax that I shouldn't have been paying my whole life? And then the money they took from me, they gave to foreign nations? They gave $1 trillion in 4 years to illegal aliens? I document this in my book. They committed treason. Our government opened our borders for 4 years and pushed in 30 million illegal aliens to destroy the United States of America. And no one's going to jail. Where's Mayorkas? He fell off the face of the earth. Where's Biden? Is he even alive? Do we know that? Was he dead 3 years ago? I don't know.
Who was running the country in the last 4 years? Who was really making the decisions? Right.
But no one's brought it. That alone is treason. You knew a man that has dementia that was incapacitated to do this job, and then you stood in and made decisions for him. You can't do that. It's against the law. And then your decisions were negative against America. And they were so negative over time that you could never have made that many poor decisions. So it had to be intentional. Thus, it's treason. And until we talk like this, and we talk about treason in these bold terms and demand people be arrested and then demand the harshest punishment, we're just kicking the can down the road, because Donald Trump will be gone in less than 4 years. He's gone. Who's going to take his place? J.D. Vance? Nice guy. Name me quickly, Michael. Name me one person that you believe that could step in and do what Trump's done in the whole nation. Who?
No one. But the only I could see J.D. Vance because of who his backers are, right? Where he came from. He came.
You trust that though?
No, I don't trust any of them though. I'm just saying where I think possibly it might go from here, right? Because the tech people, I mean, a lot could change from now until then. So but where did Vance come from? He came from Peter Thiel's world, Vivek, from the tech bros. Depending on where the financial system is at that point, he might be the one that would be put in there. But that's where my lack of optimism comes from all this. What we've just talked about over the last almost 40 minutes, because the skyrocketing of gold, they are devaluating the dollar intentionally. Tariffs. The tariffs are putting into place to usher in this new system, because the only way it works is if these countries buy into this. So we have to bully them in by using tariffs to accept where this is going into this new digital.
Do you not like the tariffs?
Well, I never thought of it. I never thought of it any other way until, again, I'm referencing back to, not to spend the whole time talking about this conversation with Matt, but he was saying, when you look at tariffs, this is similar to this is what they did in 1971. Tariffs were used to bully countries to buy into what we're doing. To accept
but why
it.
don't? But okay, but I want to follow up on that. Why don't we bully the rest of the world into, you want our dollar? You want this population to buy your stuff? You want to come because we hold everything. Then you pay a price for us.
Which I agree with. And I also think in the long run, if this works, this is threading a needle. This is a very difficult needle. And I'm not saying it's going to work. If it works, on the other end of it, you'll be reindustrializing America.
Yes, you will.
But there's a lot of what ifs, that could occur, that this will completely fall apart.
But what we're dealing with now is already falling apart. What we're dealing with now, everyone knows a house of cards. It's a lie.
We have no choice. There are no more easy roads here. And this is what Matt and I talked about. So Chris Martinson and I talked about. You and I are discussing it. I don't think people I don't want to say I don't think people realize. I mean, people that have been keeping their head in the sand for all this time, and I've been saying it for I don't know how many 4 or 5 years now. You're not going to be able to do this forever. Well, we are very close to the end of the road, and it is going to be painful. I think it's going to be very, very painful. I mean, I think it'll be worse than 2008. Could be worse than 29, during the Great Depression, because we don't make anything here. And if we start doing that, it's going to take time.
Yeah, I don't know if it has to take that much time though. I think we live in a different time, where you have someone like Donald Trump that is literally on Trump time, and things are going to happen fast. I think the tariff is great. Think about the economic explosion, Michael, if no one had to pay federal income tax. No one had to. And then imagine the government is running a surplus where the states don't have to take that much more money from you. Now you're almost erasing property tax and everything else. There needs to be massive change. Will this happen in my lifetime? I don't know. But at the same time, if you would have told me prior to Obama, I remember prior to Obama was. It was slow moving. Obama accelerated everything on the left, and then Biden, they just went all in. They went all in. And that's where we're finding ourselves today. I believe Trump, and so I like him. He's a narcissist. Yes, he is. Any man that achieves that level of success can't be walking around going, well, la-di-da, the rainbows and unicorns. He's got to be ruthless. He's got to believe he's intelligent. He's got to believe it. If that narcissism and that desire to make America great again is what is powering that man, then keep going. Not only do I want what you have done to continue, I want more of it. I want higher levels of it. And I think we're going to get it. I totally believe we're in the age of awakening. And not only economically, for the federal government, society, transgender, I think we're in for a religious revolution as well. I think everything that we know, everything is changing. Everything. I think there is a grumbling, I know. I'm Catholic. There is a massive rumbling of Catholics that do not acknowledge our Pope. Do not. There is a groundswell where people are saying we need a Pope like Trump that will come in and eviscerate everything that is ungodly in our faith. And you can go down through the Jewish faith, the Lutherans, the Protestants, everyone, the Baptists. We're all suffering from false prophets, people that are leading God's children astray. I think this is an all-encompassing. I don't think America or the world, even me, and I'm not smarter than the next guy. I'm just saying that I don't believe in totality we understand what is happening right now. I really don't. I think that there is things that are going to emerge in the next weeks and months that are going to shake us to the foundation of what we believe, shake our core, destroy our foundation. I really believe it. I think these are interesting times, and they're going to be frightening times as well. If you are not grounded in solid belief in God and solid belief of who you are, the ground is going to break underneath you, and you are going to fall very, very hard and fast.
Do you think, as you know, the ground falling, major cities are going to experience this more than, say, rural areas?
I think rural areas will always benefit from being less populated. And there's that constant feel of my neighbor. I know who my neighbor is. And you live in a big city, you don't know who your neighbors are. You don't even know who lives next door to you, right? I just think there's something. Do you feel it, or am I looking at it too broadly, or do you feel that there is massive change on the way?
I do. I think I'm interpreting it. I think we're on the same wavelength. I just think it's going to be. I think you're going one way down one road, and I'm going down another, because I think it's going to be tied to the financial havoc that's coming, that can't be stopped, and this is that. I don't know if it's a 71 moment or even 1776 moment where we are moving into a new, I don't want to say golden age, because you just don't know. I don't know how this will play out. And everything you and I have spoken about in what I've shared is just, it's all theory. I mean, maybe none of this will happen, right? And we'll just keep limping along for another 100 years beyond me and you and your child. But
you think that?
No,
you really think
no,
that?
No, but I didn't think we'd make it this long either, though. So I I thought after 2008 it was imminent that because that's when I realized the whole financial system was just a big Ponzi scheme. But these people, they're very creative in how they can just keep, making, moving numbers around and keep kicking the can down the road. But I really think that we are at the end, and that's why you're seeing this, all this gold coming back into the United States. I mean, I don't believe it's happening by accident, and they have to inflate the debt away in order to usher in this new system. So, for quoting Dave Collum, our friend Dave, Joe Sixpack, this is going to be extremely painful. Your purchasing power is going to go down, but the hope is, and I hate that word, but that wages will go up with inflation to hopefully offset some of this for people.
Yeah.
But if inflation goes up, that means interest rates, you're not going to be able, financing and what have you. I mean, you're just not going to be able to do it. It's going to be extremely painful for people that I don't think they realize.
We're going to have to, if that's what it's going to take to get back to our founding documents and get back to reality, then we have to. We've allowed this to happen. We've allowed this to happen. Our government sold the United States of America like a whore. We sold her away. We sold all of our jobs, all our manufacturing, all of it away because we did not respect ourselves, and we sold our bride. And now there's going to be payment. There's just going to be a payment. And we're seeing that. And I think when Americans finally realize that your federal government wasted, gave away, stole everything, it's going to shake you to your core. I really believe that.
I want to ask you, if we have enough time, you got a few more minutes?
Yep, I do.
Mexico is another area I'm really, really fascinated right now, JJ, and you know this better than anybody. With the cartels, and it was signed executive order was signed today in regards to it being a terrorist organization. My questions are, I have a few questions, but do you see some type of military action taking place between the United States and the cartels? And what would that look like?
It has to be. Who are you going to send down there? You're going to send down DEA agents? We're not equipped. Border Patrol agents, we're not equipped to go hand-to-hand combat with RPGs and 50 cals, and there's already proof that the arms that were supposed to be purchased for Ukraine have found their way to the cartels.
They have drones then too, JJ?
Oh yeah, they have everything.
Because they're a $1 billion corporation,
They're $1 trillion. They're $1 trillion a year. Back in the 90s, Ariana Felix brothers, the cocaine trade just through California was $39 billion. That was 30 years ago. Those narcotics are now in $1 trillion a year business. So money is not an object. It's not an obstacle. So when Trump says they being the cartels, he's basically saying, I'm sending my armed forces to kill you. That's it. The rules of engagement will have to be none. You're going to go and kill and eradicate and blow stuff up. And if you don't and you hesitate, because those cartel are demons, they're not playing by any rules. So if you're going to, now Trump, you made that, and I'm fully for this. If you're going to go and get in that position and you're going to engage, then you need to go all in. I'm talking all. I'm not saying send, SEAL Team 6 no. I want you to do what El Salvadorian president just did. Whenever he hears that there's an MS-13 gangster in a neighborhood, does he send a SWAT team? No, he sends 2,000 soldiers for 2 men because he wants it so overwhelming that they dominate him. And that's the only thing that's going to happen. If Donald Trump does not go in with everything he has and instead goes into a gunfight with a gun, he's going to lose. He has to go in with the mindset that I'm going to kill and eviscerate those people. That's the only way it's going to work.
How can you do that though? So you're saying go into Mexico.
You have to. That's where they're at.
So if you go into Mexico though, won't the public opinion in that country, those people will start rallying around the cartels and turn against the United States and create a bigger conflict? No, I mean, I'm asking.
Yeah. So let's play that out. Let's say they do. Who cares? You're a third world nation that is 100% dependent on us to function. To function. You're so corrupt. You're so grotesque in the way that you do your government, and then you allow narcos to run wild. All bets are off. And I think this is how we need to speak when we talk to foreign, like J.D. Vance going into Europe. You're the problem. You're doing these things. You're the problem. We need to look and say, Mexico, you won't eradicate your drug cartels. We're going to do it. Now, with this caveat, as much as I hate the cartels and their demons and they all need to be killed, why is there a cartel? Because they are a producer of products that we Americans demand. We demand child pornography. We demand cheap labor, and we demand children to rape in America. If we didn't demand raping children, narcotics, and cheap labor, well, they wouldn't be delivering it to us, would they? They would go somewhere else. So we are the problem, more so than the cartel. And when you talk about, we were just talking about the government and the totality of our society. This is what I'm talking about. It's an all-encompassing problem in America. We're in a religious rot, a moral rot, economic rot. We have a rotten to the core government. And then we're looking at the cartels and saying, you stop bringing those drugs over. And I'm at the same time going, please bring me more drugs. Please bring me more children I can rape, I can kill. We are the problem. America is the problem. And until we acknowledge that, we have no right to tell anybody what to do because we're demanding it. We're demanding the criminality come into our country. We're asking you to do it. We're paying you our money to come in and poison and kill us. We have a problem in America.
What about the cartel that's already here? You know, in Phoenix, where I live, Texas, all over the country. How is that dealt with? And how will they respond?
They'll be violent until you kill them and kill a few of them, and then they'll leave because they're cowards. However, I want your audience to understand the old way this was done, the cartels would bring the narcotics into America, into a load house, stash house, whatever, and then they would turn it over to the gangs in America, biker gangs, 18th Street gangs, whoever, Mexican mafia, whoever was here, and they would become the distributing arm. Not anymore. The cartels own America. So the cartels smuggle the drugs into the cartels in America distribute it. That's what we've allowed to have happen. We're so grotesquely corrupt and impotent, physically impotent as a nation, that we allow these people to come in, set up shop, and destroy us from within. But it was done intentionally because they needed to change America. They wanted to fundamentally transform America. Well, how do you do that? You do that through demographics. You bring in 30 million people. We have 50 million illegal aliens in our country today that represent over 180 nations out of 195 nations on planet Earth. And this is a demographic shift from citizens to non-citizens. That's it. They can't control you and I. Are they going to change the way that we think about our Constitution, Bill of Rights, God-given rights? No. Can you control a bunch of peasants that are illiterate in their language, that have no ability to learn English and function in our society, and you can dictate whatever you want to them because they are 100% dependent on you, the federal government? And when you start thinking of it in these terms, it makes complete sense why our federal government brought in 50 million people. And that's a conservative number.
Happened all over the world.
Mm-hmm. All the southern hemisphere came up to the western nations and destroyed them. Europe's destroyed. You may think, well, I don't really know. Oh, really? Go to Sweden, go to Germany, go to Belgium, go to all
Look at
those
Ireland. You
places.
see, following
Go to
Ireland.
Ireland. It's over. It's a math problem, Michael. It's a simple math. Okay, look at our math problem. 50 million illegal aliens in America, conservatively. 1 in 6 to 1 in 7 residents in America is illegal alien. They reproduce as high as 5 to 6 times the rate of Americans. It's a bad math problem. And within a generation or two, they will flip our population to them. Then it's over. It's over.
What do you suggest to people that have listened or listening to this? What should they do, even to start?
I believe the way to start is, like, I gave a speech yesterday to a Republican group in Tampa, and I said to them, how do you think we got here? Do you think it was from top down or bottom up? And I said it came from the bottom up. Because how did small towns, rural towns, Christian towns turn to LGBTQ, XYZ? How did we get child gender fluidity in our schools, Black Lives Matter? That never would ever happen in those small towns. Well, because the left found people that would run for city council, found people that run for mayor, and found people that run for school board, and they won while you were asleep. So what I'm telling you, to get involved at the lowest level and rise it up from there. And don't tell me it can't be done, because the left just did it. Our founding fathers told us this is what needs to happen in order to maintain our republic, is the smallest, lowest level government. And the left said, you're right. And the left took over everything. Everything. And here we are today. Oh, that's a fast hour, man.
You got to come back on more often.
Yes, I will. I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you talk. I love these kind of conversations because it challenges what I believe, and I think people need to be challenged in their thoughts and then forced to articulate what they believe and why they believe it.
First of all, where can people find you, and where can they get the book?
You can go to jjcarrell.com and has all my links there. But the best place to go to get my book is just go straight to Amazon, amazon.com, and type in Treason with JJ, and it'll pop up. It's a #1 new release. So I'm excited about its future and the legs that it will have, because every single thing you and I are talking about today, and every piece of evidence that Donald Trump is uncovering, validates everything I wrote about in this book. It's all happening right now.
How do you feel that the book is out today?
How do I feel?
Yeah, I could never write a book, so I couldn't even imagine what it's like to write one and put it out.
It is a little arduous. It's a little overwhelming, and then when it is out, I feel pride, but cautiously optimistic. Am I going to sell what I think I'm going to sell? Because it does take a lot of time, and you leave yourself vulnerable. You put out a piece of work for everyone to take a look at, and then critique, and rightfully so, everyone, but you leave yourself vulnerable. However, I believe everything I wrote, and everything I wrote in there is cited and believed. So I think it will have good legs, and I think it's incredibly relevant to what's happening today, and incredibly relevant to what you and I just discussed for an hour. So thanks for having me on.
JJ, thanks for coming on. Congratulations on the new book, and I encourage everybody to go out and get it. And I look forward to more conversations. We can't wait too long for the next one.
No, you call me up whenever you want to talk about something. I'm here. Thank you very much, Michael.
And maybe we'll get the professor to join us, Dave Collins.
Yes, that's always good too.
Mic drop.
Thanks, brother.
Mic drop.
Have a great one.